Attention passionate Cleveland, BROWNS. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Cleveland, BROWNS. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, if you've been paying attention to the NFL lately, you know that the Cleveland Browns are in a very unusual and intriguing situation when it comes to their quarterback room. And this offseason, the buzz has been growing around what the Browns might do with their signal callers, especially considering how unpredictable the quarterback landscape has become across the league. Cleveland, traditionally a team that's been searching for that franchise quarterback, now finds itself in a unique position where they might actually carry 4 quarterbacks on their roster. Yes, 4. And that's not something you see every day in the NFL. It's a bold move, it's unconventional, but given the circumstances, it might just make perfect sense for the Browns right now. So let's break down what's happening. Recently, Browns general manager Andrew Berry has addressed this very possibility, and he's done so in a way that has gotten fans, analysts, and insiders talking. What he's basically saying is that the team is considering the rare and maybe even controversial idea of keeping all 4 of their current quarterbacks on the roster. 4 guys competing for a limited number of spots. 4 guys with different styles, different experience levels, and different futures. And this isn't just speculation. Insiders like Mary Kay Cabot, who's been covering the Browns for years, believe that at least 2 of these rookies, Dillon Gabriel and SHEDEUR Sanders, are practically guaranteed a spot on the team. That's a bold statement, but it's one rooted in the team's long-term vision and potential. Mary Kay's insight is that the Browns are seeing long-term potential in both Gabriel and Sanders, and she's quite clear about it. She's saying that you might not know immediately if these 2 rookies will become stars or franchise quarterbacks someday, but the team is definitely investing in them and sees enough upside to keep them around. She even states that you can pretty much take that to the bank, which in NFL terms means the team is strongly leaning toward keeping these young quarterbacks. It's a move that surprises some because, traditionally, teams don't carry 4 quarterbacks unless they have a very specific plan or a particular reason to do so. Now you might be wondering, what's the logic behind this? Well, beyond the strategic and developmental reasons, the financial aspect plays a big role here. The entire quartet of quarterbacks, including veterans like Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, cost the Browns only about $6 million against the salary cap. That's a very manageable number in today's NFL, especially considering how much teams tend to spend on their quarterbacks. Cleveland, being a team still searching for that long-term solution under center, sees value in holding onto multiple options without breaking the bank. They're not in a hurry to make a franchise-changing move. Instead, they're playing the long game, evaluating talent, and keeping all options open. This approach aligns with their current roster construction and their overall team-building philosophy. Cleveland isn't necessarily expecting to contend for a Super Bowl this year, at least not in the traditional sense. They are still in a kind of evaluation phase, experimenting with different lineups, seeing how young players develop, and figuring out what kind of quarterback they want to build around long-term. Keeping 4 quarterbacks allows them to do just that, to develop, to test, and to trade if the right opportunity comes along. It's a strategy that might seem unconventional, but in a league where roster flexibility and cap management are everything, it's a calculated move. Think about the potential benefits. If either SHEDEUR Sanders or Dillon Gabriel develops into a true franchise quarterback, the Browns could have a valuable asset on their hands. Not only could they use that player as the cornerstone of their offense, but they could also leverage that potential for future trades or to strengthen their roster in other areas. On the flip side, having multiple quarterbacks also creates competition, which is always healthy in a team environment. It pushes players to perform at their best, knowing that their spot isn't guaranteed, and that kind of motivation can lead to better performances and more development. Of course, this scenario isn't without risks. Carrying 4 quarterbacks means taking up a roster spot that could be used elsewhere, like adding more depth at other positions or bolstering the defense. It also requires careful management of salaries and roster spots, especially if injuries or poor performances start to pile up. But Cleveland's management seems comfortable with this approach because they have a clear vision and they understand the value of flexibility and potential upside. They're not just thinking about this season, they're thinking about the next few years and how they can position themselves to be a playoff and Super Bowl contender once they find that long-term quarterback solution. Now, let's talk about the players involved. Joe Flacco, the veteran with a wealth of NFL experience, has been a steady hand and a reliable presence in the quarterback room. His leadership and knowledge are invaluable for the younger guys, and he's the kind of guy who can step in if needed without missing a beat. Kenny Pickett, the Steelers' former first-round pick, has been a bit of a wild card in this mix, a guy Cleveland might see as a potential future starter or at least a valuable trade chip down the line. But the real focus now is on those rookies, Dillon Gabriel and SHEDEUR Sanders. Both have shown flashes of promise in college, and both bring different skill sets to the table. Gabriel, who played for Oklahoma, is known for his quick release, precision passing, and a calm demeanor under pressure. He's a guy with a good football IQ, and if he continues to develop, he could be a long-term answer for the Browns at quarterback. Sanders, on the other hand, is an exciting athlete with a strong arm and impressive athleticism. Coming out of Colorado, he's been compared to some of the top prospects in recent drafts, and his upside is huge. The Browns see in him a raw, talented player who could develop into a dynamic playmaker. Training camp and the preseason games will be critical in determining how seriously Cleveland is considering this four-quarterback approach. They'll want to see how these rookies perform under pressure, how they adapt to NFL defenses, and whether they can handle the mental and physical demands of the league. If either Gabriel or Sanders impresses enough, the Browns might be willing to carry all four into the regular season, especially if it means keeping their options open and maximizing their chances of finding the right guy under center. Now, it's worth mentioning that this kind of roster construction isn't common in today's NFL, where most teams prefer to have a clear starter and maybe one backup. But Cleveland's situation is different. They're not in a hurry. They're willing to take a bit of a gamble because the potential reward, discovering a franchise quarterback or creating a valuable trade asset, outweighs the risk of roster space. It's a strategic move, one that could pay off big time if either Sanders or Gabriel develops into what the Browns envision. So, as we look ahead to training camp, the preseason, and the upcoming season, keep a close eye on how this quarterback battle unfolds. The Browns are setting the stage for something interesting, something innovative, and maybe even something game-changing for their future. This season might be less about winning right now and more about building that long-term foundation. And for Browns fans, that's an exciting prospect because it means being part of a team that's thinking outside the box, that's willing to experiment, and that's hungry to find its next big star. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Cleveland Browns news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And speaking of the bigger picture, this situation with the Browns' quarterback room reflects something much deeper about their overall team-building philosophy. Cleveland has been patient and strategic, realizing that they're not yet a finished product but willing to experiment and adapt to find the right pieces. This approach is especially important given the recent history of the franchise, which has seen its share of ups and downs, quarterback controversies, and coaching changes. The Browns, in many ways, are trying to build a new identity, one that combines veteran leadership with young, high-upside talent. In the past, Cleveland's struggles at quarterback have cost them seasons, playoff appearances, and even the fan base's patience. But now, with this unconventional move, they're signaling that they're serious about developing their own talent, about creating a sustainable pipeline of quarterbacks that can either lead them to victory or be valuable assets in trades. It's a bold and somewhat risky strategy, but one that makes sense in the context of their current roster and their long-term ambitions. Let's also remember the broader AFC North picture. The division is fiercely competitive, with teams like Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh all boasting strong rosters and playoff pedigrees. Cleveland's move to potentially carry four quarterbacks could give them a strategic edge, more options to adapt to different game situations, more flexibility to develop talent internally, and a hedge against the unpredictability of NFL seasons. If either Sanders or Gabriel can develop into a consistent starter, the Browns could suddenly transform their offense and become more unpredictable for opponents. And what about the fan base? Browns fans have been through a lot over the years. The heartbreak, the disappointment, the roller coaster of hope and frustration. But this offseason, there's a buzz of optimism, a sense that the front office is thinking creatively and doing things differently. That's a big deal. It's a sign that the franchise is willing to take some risks, to think outside the box, and to put itself in a position to succeed in the long run. Whether this particular quarterback strategy works out or not, it shows a team that's willing to innovate, and that kind of mindset is crucial for sustained success in the NFL. Now, let's talk about the potential outcomes. If Cleveland sticks with 4 quarterbacks, they'll have to manage roster spots carefully and keep a close eye on injuries and performance. But if it works, if Gabriel or Sanders steps up and proves they can be the future, the Browns will have a significant advantage. They'll have a young quarterback with high upside, a veteran to mentor and step in if needed, and the flexibility to make moves in the future. It's a smart, calculated gamble, one rooted in the reality of modern NFL roster management. And remember, the NFL is a league that's constantly evolving. The traditional way of building rosters is being challenged every season by innovative front offices, creative coaching strategies, and new player development philosophies. Cleveland is positioning itself as one of those teams willing to push boundaries and try new things. Whether it's carrying 4 quarterbacks or experimenting with different offensive schemes, they're showing that they're not content to follow the crowd, but want to forge their own path. As we look forward to this season, the training camp battles, the preseason games, and the eventual regular season, it's clear that the Browns are entering a new chapter. A chapter full of uncertainty, potential, and excitement. Fans should be prepared for surprises, for ups and downs, but above all, for a team that's willing to think outside the box and take bold steps toward building a winning future. This quarterback situation might just be the catalyst that sparks something special in Cleveland, a move that could define this franchise's trajectory for years to come. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this bold move to carry 4 quarterbacks? Do you think it's a smart strategy or too risky? Which of the rookies, Gabriel or Sanders, do you believe has the best shot at becoming the franchise quarterback? How do you see this affecting the team's chemistry and chances this season? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cleveland Browns. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news. This is your source for everything Browns, and we're just getting started.